If you love Puerto Rican food but you're trying to cut back on sodium, you don't have to give up the flavors you love. Today we're making two Puerto Rican kitchen staples, adobo and sazon, but with significantly less salt. After testing these recipes, I can honestly say you can reduce the sodium without making your food taste boring. Let's start with the adobo. Traditional adobo recipes can contain quite a bit of salt, so I wanted to see just how far we could reduce it while still keeping that familiar flavor. We are starting here with 2/3 cup onion powder. The key here is to let the herbs and spices do the work without adding a ton of salt or replacing the salt with something weird. Next, we're going to add 1 cup onion powder. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to make these ourselves is because when you make your own seasoning blends, you can control the ingredients. You can adjust the salt or the spices and make it taste exactly the way your family likes it. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I love cooking at home. You don't have to completely change the food you love to make it work for your goals. Sometimes you just have to change the recipe. Next, we're going to add 4 tablespoons black pepper. And now 4 tablespoons white pepper. And I added 2 tablespoons paprika. I'm not sure what happened to that footage. Then we added 4 tablespoons cumin. Then 6 tablespoons cilantro. And 8 tablespoons oregano. We're almost done now. We're adding 6 tablespoons turmeric. And finally, the last thing we're going to add is 1/3 cup salt. We're finally getting some much needed rain and Bailey is not impressed with the weather. She doesn't like the thunder and wants to be picked up immediately. Since I'm dealing with food though, she needs to wait. We've actually been dealing with a historic drought here in Puerto Rico with water rationing affecting parts of the island, so this rain is very much needed. Everything is going to go into these blenders and we're going to blend that up for a few seconds to break up the herbs and start the blending process. Then we'll transfer it to a bowl where we will really mix it well to get all the flavors and everything distributed evenly. careful in this step not to over blend it, or the heat will make the turmeric and cumin start to clump up.
You're okay, Bailey. The thunder's not gonna get you, I promise.
Here we're going to dump it into this measuring cup so I can mix it up well and break up the chunks a little. But once the thunder started, my priorities changed. After I finished the adobo, I took a little break and sat with Bailey and Jack until the storm passed. Next up is Sazon. Sazon is one of those things that can completely transform a dish. Again, we're keeping the salt low and letting the other ingredients shine. We're starting with 2/3 cup onion powder. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to make these ourselves is because when you make your own seasoning blends, you can control the ingredients. You can adjust the salt or the spices and make it taste exactly the way your family likes it. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I love cooking at home. You don't have to completely change the food you love to make it work for your goals. Sometimes you just have to change the recipe. Next, we're adding 2/3 cup garlic powder. Have you ever tried a seasoning labeled less sodium, thinking it was going to be significantly lower in salt? You may have been surprised. I know we were when we recently tried a store-bought version that was labeled as having less sodium, and honestly, it was way too salty. Next, we're adding 4 tablespoons of salt. So yes, that of course sent me down a rabbit hole, and I learned that less sodium doesn't necessarily mean what I thought it did. A product only has to be 25% lower sodium than its original version to use that claim in the US. I thought to myself, there has to be a way to have a version that we really like with less salt. And so here we are, making our own. Now we need 8 tablespoons of annatto powder. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And our last ingredient is going to be 4 tablespoons cilantro. We're going to be using this in some of our upcoming recipes, so if you want to see how they actually perform in the kitchen, make sure you're subscribed. And if you know someone else who is trying to reduce their sodium, don't forget to share this video. Again, we're going to put this in the blender for about 10 seconds or so just to break up those whole herbs and start incorporating them a little bit before finishing the mixing in a bowl. So there you have it, homemade Puerto Rican adobo and sazon with less sodium but still packed with flavor. And if you try these recipes, let us know how they turned out. Thanks for exploring flavor with us here in Puerto Rico. Until next time, we'll see you on the island.